said, no, my doubt and demons on their way. Every endeavor I have made ever is coming into play, is here and now today.
Yes, my friends, this is the moment where you get to find out how amazing my next guest is. I'm Coach Raja, and I appreciate all of you. You get the Victor Bell for being here and being so amazing. And guess who else is amazing? My next guest. His name is the amazing Joshua D. Smith. He's the owner and founder of Your Speaking Voice LLC, a personal, professional, public speaking and business coaching company based in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, with an intuitive mindset and a servant heart. Joshua serves others to unlock the hidden potential that we have within each one of our voices. By building relationships, confidence, and determination, his clients unlock their voice to utilize in his ever-changing world, challenging self-held beliefs, holding them back from uncovering what their gifts are to share in this world. So, without any further delay, let's welcome the even more handsome than me, super handsome, super talented, double talented guy, the one who walked uphill to school both ways in the snow, barefoot, the one and only Joshua D. Smith. Hey, Joshua, how you doing today, buddy?
Thanks so much. I don't know about walking barefoot, but man, I walked really barefoot to get here on this microphone today. I'm so glad to be here with you.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. And for those that also want to feel fantastic and feeling barefoot, click that link down below so that you can also comment on the live. So let's just dive right in. I got a couple of questions for you here. So now, you and I, we met through Toastmasters, and we've gone through like a bunch of years of, I've been in Toastmasters now for 7 years. You've been in for how long?
13 years coming up.
13 years. Beautiful. So you have a good experience in speaking and helping to train speakers too. So how can budding speakers find the confidence in sharing their story and their idea to others, even if they have uncertainty and how to start sharing it?
Raj, thanks so much for the question. Again, I have to say that one of the biggest things when it comes to just finding this whole process is just realizing you have a voice. You have something that you can say to other people. And I think most people struggle just starting out with this process is what is the one idea? What is one thing that you know that you can say to somebody else? What can you share that maybe it's something that's common knowledge. Maybe it's something that you have done before, other people know, but how can we be able to look at it differently? How do we see that perspective that you're bringing to the table different from maybe the mainstream? And I think that we don't have to really look in the details as much. All we have to do is just say, this is what I really love. This is what I really enjoy, and start speaking about it. And once we start speaking about it, we get rid of all the jitters. We get rid of all the vocal variety issues, all the purpose things. Those are the typical things
about
that we
that.
cover. Yeah. We don't really talk about worrying about those sort of things. We just dig into getting you up there, making you feel comfortable, and then this starts to flow out. You start to see, especially when you share it, other people's perspectives, and those perspectives start to also influence who you are, what you're able to say, how you can share that. So that uncertainty breaks down. So I even say to even some of my most basic of individuals, they have almost zero public speaking experience. What do you want to talk about? Just pick one idea and we'll run from there. So it's just as simple as that.
Yeah. Now, what's interesting is, so years ago, I learned about something called the Suzuki method when it comes to learning violin. Now, I don't play violin. I played it in, 3rd and 4th grade, and then I quit because I wanted to play soccer. Which now I kick myself. I'm like, man, I wish I'd stayed with it. But rather than that old rote method of learn the notes, learn the chords, or learn the different things, and then learn songs, what it does is instead is find songs that people like, and then start using those notes. And then all of a sudden, because you're playing something you enjoy, all of a sudden it gets easier. And I think that speaking is also the same thing. I think there's a reason why in Toastmasters, your very first speech is called an icebreaker speech, because we want to hear about you. What's the easiest thing to talk about? Talk about yourself.
Mhm.
right? And so now, now that we get past that first piece, how do people step out of their comfort zone and then start to use their voices in a way that's both impactful and helps them to achieve their goals?
Oh, beautiful question, Raj, because that's
Mhm.
essentially why I started doing Your Speaking Voice, my business in the first place.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
most people don't realize that once you actually get the idea, how do you execute on it? How do you even form goals around it? So I
Mhm.
know that many people, many corporate trainers, many other individuals will probably be like, "Oh, yeah, I use that." And that's just something that I think of ancillary. I like using the SMART goal method. And Mirage, I'm sure you're probably familiar with it, being a coach yourself, but for our
Yep.
listeners, let's just run through it real quick.
Go for
Specific
it.
is the S, measurable is the M,
Mhm.
attainable is the A, realistic is the R, T is time bound. And time bound is
Mhm.
absolutely critical because you don't want these to go 5, 10, 20, 40 years down the road and you didn't do anything with it. So being very measurable, very impactful about it is what is really the first step in any journey that I ask individuals to do. But when you have that level of accountability, knowing that you're working with someone that is really helping you and has your back no matter what, seeing the highs, seeing the lows, which I've experienced so much in my own life, my own story, it's really has helped me and helped others to see that once they do that, once they just slowly break out of that shell that they have, which is the
Mhm.
uncomfortableness, it's the fear mongering that you tell in your brain. It's almost the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other, right? They're telling you things. Yes. But
Yeah.
you step out of your comfort zone. And that's really the best way to do it is how you hold people accountable, making sure that they know that you are there to help them every step of the way, but to let them know that they have a voice in this. And it doesn't mean that I'm shoving it down their throat. It doesn't mean that we always go with what that we have said as the plan. We make adjustments. We measure it as we go along. And that's really fundamentally why it's so important for us, especially in this world that we live in, to always reevaluate because things change, things grow, things move in a different direction. You might be doing really well, and that's great. We'll keep moving goals forward. But at the same time, if we are not doing well, if things are not happening the way that they should, why? And that's always a question that I have in the back of my head when I work with my clients. Why is that the case? Dealing with that and breaking that down helps
Yeah.
us to get outside of that comfort zone.
Right. And what's interesting is sometimes people, when you stay close to your why, it keeps you close to that goal, that dream. I was telling people before, like when I first launched my show, I don't know how or why. I'm going to try to do 100 interviews or get on 100 stages in 6 months. I had no idea how I was going to do that. I started that in the summer of 2022. And unfortunately, I did not get to 100 in 6 months. I got 204 in 5 months. So
Wow.
I doubled it because I stayed close to my why. There was a reason for it, to face my fear of speaking on lives because I hated doing live video. But I knew if I wanted to grow as a person and as a business coach, I could do plenty of like recordings and trainings for my clients. But then once I started facing my own fear of doing lives, and I started doing it now, it's easy. Finally, so the speaker that can't talk right is now doing live events, and you're number 387 today. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it. And we just had you on my show speaking from the heart at 208. So
Yeah.
just to see that it's about breaking down that imposter syndrome, which is always that first line of defense, saying that we can't do it. And you doing
Yeah.
it, Raj, getting to 387, that's an achievement in itself.
Well, you know what? Like I'm emboldened by the fact that like one of my speaker coaches had said, "Well, Roger, your first 100 speeches are going to suck, but each
Yeah.
one you give is going to suck a little less." And that's how you get better. You got to get those jitters out, learn something. And I'm telling you, that is so true. Those that are going to Toastmasters and speaking once a month, it's to me, that seems, looking back now, I'm thinking, oh man, I should have been speaking once a week or twice a week instead, not once a month. But
You know
now I
what?
know, and that's what I
Yeah.
do now is like I look for like this week I'll be speaking 9 times.
Wow.
It's because I'm actively seeking out. I'm looking for stages and podcasts and shows and summits and but you have a framework that helps people to do that. So like, how do you use your program to implement with your clients and help change their own lifestyle appearances and like how their approach to thinking, you know, what's worked and what's not worked.
Yeah, and I have to say, relating to you with your
Yeah.
Toastmasters journey, I also use some of the things that I practice with my clients to help me because I still struggle. We all struggle. We all have
Yeah.
things that we really are trying to build upon. My biggest friend when I started in Toastmasters was the upper left-hand corner of a ceiling of each room that I talked to because I was so comfortable not looking at my audience. I just wanted to see if there was cobwebs and spider webs up in the
Yep.
corner, and
Hmm.
then we port that to the facility so that they can clean it. So I was actually doing them a better job than actually serving my audience. But that's the whole point is that that's where I started, and that's how I help my clients is that I start with where their baseline is. I have people that come from all walks of life, people that don't speak at all, and then they're put in this position in which they do need to speak. I had a
Yeah.
gentleman that really wanted to start in the same track as you, Raja, where they wanted to
Yeah.
learn how to speak on stages, get on TEDx, get on different platforms with corporations. How do I do that? And they are starting from ground zero and building themselves up. And I've seen already in a few sessions the incremental progress of just focusing on messaging, focusing on content, what is their purpose for being on that
Hmm.
stage? Because if you can't even answer that question, you don't deserve to be on that stage. And I didn't know what my purpose was for a long time. I should have never been. But for Toastmasters, it allowed me to do that. For my clients and for anybody that is really trying to pursue this, accountability, as I mentioned earlier, is you're going to be your biggest friend. And that means not just necessarily relying on artificial intelligence, which I know is the big buzzword AI.
Yeah. Nice
That's not
tool.
just
Don't
part
forget
of
it's
it.
a tool only.
Yeah, it's just a tool only, right. And we have to think about not only how we use our tools, but also how do we implement them? How do we actually use them? Because some people don't know how to use them. How do you use your voice? How do you project yourself with
Right.
humor? How do you entertain? These are all facets that if we don't have that baseline to start out, let's work
Mhm.
on that baseline. Let's get you comfortable with what works, what doesn't work, and then go from there.
Gotcha. Thank you so much. So now, you have a connection to your site down below. Tell us if they click on that, like, what are they able to get?
First off, I just updated this in the last week, and I got to thank my team at Enzo Digital LLC. If you ever need any social media help or anything, they can help you with a website. They've done such an excellent job for me. So on that website, you're going to see all kinds of different things, not just public speaking we're talking about today, but also
Yeah.
life coaching, professional development. If you're looking for a job or trying to transition to a better job, if you're looking to even get help with your podcast, it's something that I started to offer here in the last few days.
Yep. Hmm.
Also, one of my biggest things, something that I'm hoping is going to break the industry, is something called fractional coaching. It's kind of a
Hmm.
spin on our traditional way of thinking of coaching where we go and hire when we need somebody right away. Well,
Yep.
what if you needed somebody and you didn't have anything set up? What are you supposed to do? Fractional coaching takes care of that and helps you with all kinds of different things that you want to have somebody on retainer, helps you out every so often. We figure out what that arrangement is. I'm here to help you and serve you and drop everything whenever that happens. So those are
Beautiful.
some of my
All
many
right.
services. You could go check that out.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. So, like, make sure you click on that link below and grab that. It'll be in the show notes or in the banner afterwards. For those that are watching on the live right now, well, when you're live, you thrive, and when you're on the replay, you get to play again. Give us some thumbs up. Give us some heart so that we know that you're getting some impact, and you will get a victory bell for that as well. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the softer side of series and really get to know you as a person. I always say that people don't join don't join a business, they join a person. So let's find out more about you. This is what I quietly call the speed dating round. Tell us about where'd you grow up and how'd you grow up.
Great question. And most people were shocked to sometimes when I tell them.
Yeah.
I was born in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, grew up born and
Ah.
raised for first 7 years of my life, and
Hmm.
my parents have raised Alpine Nubian dairy goats. Now, you might be thinking, "Okay, what does that mean?" So, think of it as like a smaller goat, not a pygmy size, but a regular sized
Hmm.
goat, but also those mountain goats that you see on the side of hills grazing. That's what my
Yep.
mom raised. She did things with them in terms of showing them off at farm shows, winning first place, all those things. And
Ah.
I have to tell you, if it wasn't for that upbringing, especially growing up on a farm, I don't think I would have learned the hard work and dedication that it takes to wake up early, put in the hard work, feed animals in that case, being able to then work on other things and then go back to what you're supposed to be doing because I think that those sort of things have really made such a big difference for me and my upbringing. And I didn't always live in Lancaster. I grew up in a small town called Oley, which is in Berks
Yep.
County.
Mhm.
But ever since then, moving out here to Carlisle, it's just been a monumental journey for me just to meet so many new people and use some of the things I've learned just from raising goats.
That's fantastic. So, like, I'm just gonna say that you are in a perpetual Rumspringa uh, state, aren't you?
I have no idea what that means, but yes, let's just say
Oh,
yeah.
so the Amish, when they turn 17, is it 16 or 17? They go on to Rumspringa, which is like their year outside in the English, or outside
Oh,
of Lancaster. So then they're
yeah.
exploring the world, trying to figure out who they are and whether they want to live in the outside world or rejoin their Amish their Amish community.
Yeah,
So
I never heard of it that way before. So no, now I learned something today. I didn't realize that's what it's called. But yes, I'm familiar with
oh, there's
that. So
always
yes,
something to learn. Yeah.
yes.
Mhm. What about what about growing up? Was there any movie or book that helped kind of shape the way you think today?
Oh, gosh, when you asked me this question before we started, I had to
Yeah.
go back to the archives and just think of all these amazing movies. And you might be
Oh yeah,
shocked
and I'm a big like
because
movie buff too. I love it.
yeah, you might be shocked because I know in this frame, you probably people are going to be like, you're going to say Captain America because I see Captain America behind you. I'm going to actually shock you and say no. The movie I actually grew up with that I loved is Rocky, the original Rocky, which was with
Yes.
Sylvester Stallone. And talk about an underdog being written off, given a chance by somebody that was of high stature, being able to go 15 rounds with the boxing champion of the time, Apollo Creed, at least fictionally in that
Hmm.
movie. I just think that that story of redemption, which led on to other movie spin-offs from that, is just something that really resonates in my life. And I just love watching that over and over again. It's a great movie. It won an Academy Award. If you haven't ever watched it, I'm not going to spoil the rest of it. You can figure out what happens at the end. Go check it out.
Yeah, and for those of you that have not ever watched it and really learned the story about why that movie was not only so inspirational, but also so powerful. It's an icon in the film industry because up until that time, most boxing movies were just slugfests. And
Yes.
what Sylvester Stallone did is he actually wrote Rocky. Like, I don't know if people know that. Like he actually wrote the screenplay. He wrote the story. And what he did that was amazing was he brought heart to it. It was not only a boxing movie. It was a heart story. It was a love story within a boxing movie, and that's really what drove it. Someday, Google the story behind like the Rocky movie and how the studio, he was so poor at the time he had to sell his dog.
Yes.
And they went through like 25 rewrites and they wanted to cast Robert Redford in it, and they offered him $17,000 for the script,
Yes.
and then they came back a couple weeks later, offered him $220,000 for the script. He still turned it down because he wanted to play Rocky, and they said,
Yes.
"Fine, you have 30 days to film the entire movie, otherwise you lose the rights forever."
Wow. I
He
didn't know that
gambled
last
on
part.
himself.
Yeah.
He gambled on himself. He finished it in 28 days, and it won Best Film of the Year. I mean, it's just an incredible story. So definitely check it out. What about and like, I'm there like with you. Like when I was in training mode, man, Rocky 3 was my go-to movie, and like I the Tiger was my
Yes.
training montage. I mean, really,
Yeah.
when I was training for tournaments and training for anything. What about was there was what's your favorite? What's your favorite kind of music? Like, what do you love to jam to?
So for many years, I would have told you pop music, and I was very
Yeah,
very traditional like everybody else. But I, in the last several years, and especially
yeah.
with the things that I've been through in my life, I really have an appeal for Christian music. So I
Hmm.
love Chris Tomlin. I don't know if you ever listened to any of his music, but most people would say to you, well, yeah, he kind of whips off everybody else, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think so. I think that he brings a unique flair and you see him in
Hmm.
concerts, especially with different music genres of songs that other bands have played. One of the
Right.
songs that really stands out to me, and I had to pull it up because I wanted to make sure I didn't get
Gotcha.
it said it wrong. It's
Okay.
literally called "Our God," And, you know, you
Gotcha.
think of it when you're listening in churches, "Our God is an awesome God, He
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
reigns
Yep,
in
yep.
heaven above, above." Yes, and so I just feel like he brings a different flair to it. Yeah.
hmm I remember like for me like I like all kinds of music and even even spiritual music in the holidays and you know like 2 weekends from now I'm singing Jesu Bambino and I'm singing a solo of like Oh Holy Night and
Yes.
when people ask you, "Oh, are you Christian?" I'm like, "No, not. I'm not Christian, but I'm very spiritual." And I think that
Yes.
I think that a religion is something that I think that really should connect all of us. And so for me,
Mhm.
like that's the way I view it. Is that it's such a beautiful, powerful, moving piece. Why wouldn't you connect with other people on that? And so
Yes.
you and you've heard me sing before, so live. So you
Singing scientist, I'm glad I'm with you to be able to hear you sing too.
well, it's one of those things. I love music because it connects the world together. No matter what your background, your race, your finances, your religion, your creed, your country, it don't matter. When you hear good music, it just connects us all. What
It
about? Do you have a favorite book that has inspired you?
Oh, man, there's just so many books, and I feel like I
I know.
struggle with some of these because, like, you have to narrow it down to just one, but I have to say that the book that changed my course and made me literally cry when I was about
Yeah.
halfway through it was a book by Dr. Brene Brown. It's called
Oh
Daring
yeah.
Greatly, and one of the best books I've read about vulnerability, especially with where I have been in my life, being
Yep.
raised and kind of being bullied quite a lot in my childhood, even through some of my early college years, I was kind of like tormented a lot.
Yeah.
Being vulnerable about that, being able to share my story, I think Brene Brown's work really exemplifies how you can best go about that. And it's funny, I just got the book back. I had lend it to a client because I was like, I think you want to read this.
Yes.
It's actually on my list again in 2025 to pick up and read again because I have a different perspective now. I feel like there's going to be a lot more I get out of it.
That's beautiful. What's a fun fact about you
So,
that maybe people don't know?
yeah, it was a really good question. You know, when I tell people this, they get absolutely shocked and they're like, "Really? This happened to you?" I was actually served probation when I was 16 years of age. So
Mhm.
I did some stupid stuff. The stupid stuff is that I pointed
Really?
a gun at somebody that I should have
Oh boy.
never pointed to. And the only reason why that happened is, and I'm very open about it because that was a
Yeah.
turning point for me. The reason I was is that, again, a lot of bullying happened. There was a kid that was down the road that was just harassing, picking on me, and
Yeah.
it just got out of control. And at the end of the day, I made bad choices. They made bad choices. I stood in front of a judge. The judge was like, "Look, you're a good kid. I don't think that you really meant to do all this stuff, but we do need to punish you in some way because, like, you shouldn't have done that." So I served 6 months of probation when it was all said and done. People were shocked when they hear that, "Oh,
Oof.
wait, you're a criminal?" Well, yes, as a juvenile, I was. So, but
Well,
it
made
had
some
some.
mistakes in my youth and moving on.
Exactly, and that's what it
Yeah.
is that we all make mistakes at different stages. It's just about what we learn from them. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, like I used to tell people like I used to have one person who I was friends with and still friends with. She was actually in prison for 15 years
Yes.
for actually shooting her husband who used to beat her.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so she was in an abusive relationship, had to stop him, and then she did her time. And I told her very clearly, like, listen, I believe in second chances. I don't believe in thirds, but I do believe in second chances. And you know, and so I think everybody out there needs to hear that is that we all have something in our past that maybe we're ashamed of or not happy about, and me included, and we're all you know trying to be vulnerable about it, and kind of like what Brene Brown teaches us about, like if you can be open about it, you show. It's not about trying to pretend you're the perfect speaker. Uh, I'm not, and I think that's the hardest part for me is like to finally accept that I can be the speaker that can't talk right, but I think that's what emboldens other people to say, you know what, I take inspiration from that. What about
Yes.
what is your favorite kind of food? I always find this question fun.
Oh, yes. It's funny because my mom and I have recently been exchanging conversations back and forth. It's like, I remember you making this growing up. So why can you remember? Can you remember the recipe? Can you send it over to me? And I have to. She sent me one just last night, literally, and I really want to make it. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't know if I'm going to even make it in terms of the way that she used to do it. But another recipe that she would make is American goulash. Now, if you never had goulash, it's essentially a combination of large noodles, the shelled noodles, and my mom's
Huh.
very specific. It's like you got to have the shell noodles.
Where do
You
you
get
get that? No.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's in any grocery store. You just get regular large shelled noodles,
Oh,
essentially.
okay. The
Yeah.
shells. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, kind of like
Mhm.
thinking of like macaroni in a way. That's
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
those are. You get that. You get tomatoes with whole tomatoes, so you can,
Yep.
obviously pull them from your garden. Although here in Pennsylvania, we're wrapping up our gardens. Having that, also cutting up an onion. You don't have to use the whole onion, about a quarter of the onion, and then ground beef. And then for me, the secret ingredient tons and tons and tons of cheese. American
Mm.
cheese just sprinkled all about. You cook it all together. You throw it in the oven for an hour and a half. Mwah! Chef's kiss. It's so good. I just made some. Raj, I'm sorry. You're over there. I'm over here. I
Oh my
would
God. No.
obviously share.
That's okay. I got it covered. Okay. Hello, like Maggiano's. Yeah. Like I need the American goulash in the green room stat. Yes. I need a gigantic bowl of it, the largest pot you got. All right. Totally. All right. So they said they're going to send it over right away. So Joshua, we're out of time and we need to move on to our next segment. I have one last question for you.
Sure.
What is it that you want people to remember about you?
Raja, I always know that people make mistakes, like we were just talking about earlier, and I know that people sometimes do and say and maybe act in the wrong way. And one of the biggest
Yeah.
things I've learned, and even especially the last few years, is that sometimes mistakes happen. You realize after reflecting that you shouldn't have done what you should have supposed to be doing. Instead, you should have been
Hmm.
doing something much better. Have a compassionate heart is something that I've had to learn, but also learn to forgive yourself. If you never
Beautiful.
ever stop to forgive yourself, I'm
Love it.
telling you, it's gonna
Love
make
it.
such a big difference. Yep.
Oh, you're gonna ring the victory bell for that. For those watching on the live, please give us some thumbs ups and some hearts so that you got this, so we know that you got the impact. Click his link down below, and we will see you right after the next segment. All right, see you in a minute, Josh. So now, while Joshua is enjoying that amazing food, I hope he saves me some. I would like to invite you to please take advantage of our sponsors for this week. Number one, we have coming up very, very soon is the one, the only Potapalooza. Here it is, and there it is. So make sure you click that link on down below. It is a series of podcasters and guests that are going to be meeting all throughout the day on Wednesday tomorrow. So I'm going to be able to get at least, I think, 5 or 6 or 7 interviews done all in one day. And everybody else gets to listen to all the amazing speakers, and you get free gifts as part of it. So make sure you don't miss out. And if you upgrade to VIP, you get the VIP gifts, which are usually worth thousands of dollars, and you get all the recordings too. So don't miss out. And second up is my Tuesday Mastermind. Make sure that if you want to start to become the next version of yourself, we already have an amazing group there. To join that club, all you got to do is it's no longer a pay to play. It's just a one-time a donation, and then you get access to that for life because we want to create impact out there. And lastly, one of my favorite tools I used recently is Talkadot. So there's that link down below. Make sure you click that. And if you want to get feedback live right after a speech, I got 105 testimonials right after a keynote I just did last month because of that. So make sure you grab that link down below. And speaking of being able to brand yourself, if you don't have a speaker reel or a sizzle reel, talk to us and our team can help you make something like this.
When you throw a rock into a lake, what happens? No, there's a splash. You make an impact, and then you get waves. And then you don't know where those waves are going. Those waves are going past around the reeds, and you don't know where that impact is. So all of you out there, when you're on stage, you don't know where your impact is going to end. It's never going to end.
All right, folks. So today in this week's episode of 60-Second Mind Shift, Joshua was talking a little bit about getting uncomfortable and being vulnerable. And I got to tell you, I got to share a story about that because for me personally, I got to say my biggest fear was speaking on live videos because I can't correct myself. I can't stop myself. And there are people out there that make fun of you. There are trolls out there. And eventually start realizing, you know what? The trolls don't matter. And until you become vulnerable and start sharing and becoming uncomfortable, you are not becoming the next version of you. So in my book, I talk about breaking out of your box of fear. And if you're stuck in that box of fear, which has been made by your parents, your education, your finances, your culture, your country, wherever you work, that box of fear is going to contain you forever until you break out of it. And once you break out of that box of fear, you're in this uncomfortable zone. And what people don't realize is when you're a little bit uncomfortable, that is your growth zone. Think about it. Why is it at karate or track or basketball? You have to run, you have to do push-ups, you have to become uncomfortable, you have to train your body, you have to pressure your body. Why is it that a lump of coal only with pressure and heat and time turns into a diamond? Because if you don't add the pressure, it just stays a lump of coal. You need the pressure so that you can grow. So my advice to all of you is that look for the positive pressure that you can apply in your life and start becoming the diamond that you were meant to be. So let's bring back Joshua and see if he saved me any food. So Joshua, welcome back, buddy. How was the food and did you save anything?
Well, maybe not for you, but maybe for everybody else that is listening to this. I got a couple plates ready to go.
No problem, bud. Hey, so what is your big takeaway from that 60-second mind shift, and what would you add to it?
You know, I think you really nailed it. I think it's about not just seeing that today you might feel like a piece of coal, but it's about molding yourself. It's about experiencing what people have to say, what they have to share, what they're able to be capable of becoming. And by doing that, you start to see that little shine. And it might start as a little smaller shine, maybe that little bit of a light resonating from you, but it's going to go brighter and brighter and brighter. So I really think that just adding on to that, if you don't know how to do that, get a coach. We all can use coaches to be able to do that.
All of us have coaches. Guess what? He's got a coach. I got a coach. I got a couple coaches, actually. So that's how you grow the fastest. All right, folks. So Joshua, just last question for you before we hang up here. You know, if someone were to give you a blank check with unlimited resources, what would be your grand vision to change the world?
I think that money is something that we sometimes think is the root of all evil, and we sometimes want to just stay away from. We don't want to be corrupted by it. But I think that our money can go a long way by helping people that are in great need. We think about the hurricane victims that are still, after all this time, struggling. Let's give that money to people that need that extra boost. Even just $1,000 for somebody to maybe pay off that loan, pay off that card that they have as outstanding debt for their family. I think it's just about those small acts of kindness. Thinking about our fellow man, women, children can make such a big difference. So I would equally distribute that check to everybody that might need it, even if that's just a small little impact for them. That's what I believe in. It's about the small little impacts.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you so much, Joshua. You've been an amazing guest. You get to ring the victory bell. Make sure that everyone that is watching on the replay, you get to play again. Thank you so much for being part of this journey. Episode 387. Can you believe it? By the way, December 21st, 400th interview live. I have an amazing special guest you will not want to miss. I'm not going to tell you who, because you got to show up. And all proceeds from that event will go to charity. I am sponsoring the National Stuttering Association, the NSA, because they bring education and enlightenment about what speech disfluencies are. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here. And as always, this is Coach Raja. Believe it and become it. And we will see you all on the next show. Bye-bye. All right. So 30 seconds left. 3 quick questions. 30 seconds for your testimonial here. Just quick 3. Why did you want to come on the show today? What was your biggest takeaway or aha moment? And would you recommend me to somebody else on stage. So
First off, easy third last question. Yes. Secondly, I think that I always admire people, especially in the Toastmasters realm, like you, that are just doing amazing things. Roger, you're certainly building that business, not only to help other people with that mindset to have victory in it, but I love what you're doing and helping others to do that as well. And I forget what the second question was.
So what was your biggest takeaway from
Oh, yes.
training? Or
Yeah, my biggest takeaway is that we all come from different walks of life. I just appreciate how vulnerable you are, and that's my takeaway with everything that you're doing, because this is really making an impact on so many.
All right. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you so much. The podcast crew knows what to do from here, and we are out of here.